thought there was a- Here's what's in there. That's-
I'm gonna start. You want to start again? I'm gonna
Okay.
stop this.
The June 4th, 2024 County Commission meeting open to order. We'll start with pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioner Ross and Ruskin are present in the room. Commissioner Hagan's on the Zoom. Mr. Peach will not be able to be here today. The first order of business will be the approval of the minutes. And we have three sets,
They have three.
of minutes. Can take it all together or one?
If you all can.
We have a motion to approve the three sets of minutes. The packet.
Second.
Mr. Ross, Mr. Ross at second. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. The next item is the approval of the order of agenda. Does any commissioner have a change they'd like to make in the order of the agenda? Hearing none, take a vote. to approve. Mr. Rustin.
Second.
Mr. Ross, second. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. And the next item is the consent agenda. It consists of bills, employee status changes, overtime, game of chance permit for Builders Association, maintenance agreements for the couple of cities, and the fireworks permit. The commissioner brought up on this. Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the consent? Second. Ross? Second? Second?
Yeah, I got it.
Oh, I thought you were waiting. Okay, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. All right, item 6 is a public hearing on the MIDA bonds for the Spectrum Health Organization. We need to recess this meeting and go into a special hearing. So I take a motion to do that.
So moved. Second.
Ross? Mr. Ross, second. We'll temporarily adjourn the main meeting and call to order. Public hearing on MIDA bonds for the Spectrum Health Project. Is there anyone from the public either on Zoom or in the room who would like to comment or ask questions?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Scott Wagner. I'm with Arntzen Stewart Wagner Law Firm in Bismarck, and I'm representing Spectra Health. And Spectra Health is requesting that the county issue a MIDA bond in the amount of not to exceed $1 million for their parking lot project. State and federal law, as you know, requires a public hearing, and that notice has been published twice for the public hearing at this time. I think you're maybe all familiar with MIDA bonds, but just briefly, you know, the North Dakota legislature allows cities and counties to issue these MIDA bonds on behalf of certain qualifying entities. And Spectra Health qualifies because they're a 501c3 organization. And by statute, the city or county may not have any liability for the repayment of the bonds. That's set out in chapter 4057 of the Century Code. And it's also set out in the resolution that's before you. And should you approve, after the public hearing, I'd ask that you adopt that bond resolution. And again, that authorizes a MITA bond of not to exceed $1 million for the Spectra Health project. And it delegates to the chairman and the county authority, the authority to approve the final documents and to sign the bond and related closing documents. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Any commissioner have questions? Right. We'll, do I have a motion to approve the?
Mr. Chairman, I think we should, close the public hearing and then.
Not part of the hearing, that's right. Motion to close the public hearing and return to the commission meeting.
So
Mr.
moved.
Rusted.
Yeah.
Second, Mr. Ross, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, we are now back in the commission meeting. And do I have a motion to approve the issuance of MITA bond?
So if I understood him correctly, there's no county liability whatsoever.
That's right.
This is merely procedural. I'll make that one. Second.
Mr. Ross, second. Now this, the page 8 of the document appears to require roll call, right? Okay, so all in favor of the motion, we'll start with Commissioner Ross,
Yes.
Mr. Rusted,
Yes.
Mr. Hagan,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well, so it's unanimous. All right, anything else on this issue? Okay,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
thank you. All right, the Red River Community Housing Development Organization, first, we'll hear from Mr. Ford for a moment, and
Mr. Chairman, this is where we need a motion to recess the county commission meeting and it convene as a county board of equalization. That's number 5.
I missed one. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
I'll move the recess.
Forget about it.
I second.
Now we, I have a motion to recess and.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion in a second. And Ross, and all in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Aye.
We are now in equalization.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Today I have before you the evaluations preliminary comparison of the 2023 and 2024 taxable valuations and increases or decreases. That's what the spreadsheet was. Do you have any questions on that? Also submitted is a copy of the agricultural value per acre for the 2024 assessment from the State Tax Department. Again, we did not have any overall increases or decreases to ag land. We are at 96% of the average set by NDSU. Any questions on that? As provided by North Dakota Century Code 57-12-01, the first order of business is the equalization of assessments in cities. We were just talking to Mr. Norman and he did have an appeal on a residential home in Grand Forks City. We just found out about this, so we are not ready on this, correct?
Haven't been able to access my information to be able to answer questions.
Okay, so we do have one appeal from the city of Grand Forks that we are not able to act on today. Is there anybody else from a city in Grand Forks County that would like to appeal their value for 2024? Anybody in a city for 2024 values? Okay, we did have 3 gas stations that are appealing their value in the city of Grand Forks. We got this yesterday. Ms. Lazar was able to get her staff reports in today to me, so we are ready to act on those. And I will hand these out quick, and she will be speaking on behalf of her office.
Sorry, we're getting this late. Number said it came to us yesterday morning, and stuff. Okay. All three of these appeals did come to us last year at our city 2023 city board of equalization. They submitted the same information that is included in your packet today. While the values are different for each parcel, some of the numbers are different for each parcel. My general comments overall are the same. The information submitted by their tax rep is a cost approach. I would say it should be disregarded because the information contained in there is inaccurate. From the Marshall and Swift cost estimators that they're using a climate of mild in order to apply a factor. North Dakota is anything but mild in our climate. That will underestimate the value. They also included all paving as asphalt, which in Marshall and Swift accelerates in depreciation. They undervalued the land. So at every turn in their cost approach that they provided to us, they've undervalued the properties. I provided with my tax or my staff reports information as to sales that we've had. We had one sale in the city of Grand Forks in 23. And then I've had to go out to the rest of the state to find other sales. I don't have anything further to support or anything local. But I have included sales data for vacant land sales to support land value. Our values are fair and equitable. I recommend that we uphold and the 2024 values that we have in place. I'm sure we can ask, take any questions.
Questions, we just handed this now and.
It's, I understand.
If there are any questions or disagreements, you know.
I understand.
Lord,
Is there anybody from them representation? Like this?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Russ, I did reach out to this tax rep and told her how to get a hold of meeting via Zoom. I reached out twice by phone, once by email, and have not heard anything back. So I feel that they just try to see what they can get. And if I'm not hearing any response back, and the information they gave us was so inferior, or it's not established why or what in our eyes that we can act on it today. If you're okay with that.
any board's wishes?
Well, I think if this was a serious concern, somebody here, yeah, so I move.
Mr. Hagan, do you have any comments? Oh, I think she's.
No, Mark said what I was gonna say. If there was some serious things that we needed to speak about, not saying that their stuff isn't serious, but they should be here if they wanted to have a rebuttal.
So I guess with that, though, because it feels like a shot in the dark to me, I'll just move, we remain.
Moves into that, the appeals.
Yeah.
Second for Ross, second. Any other questions? Right, all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
I.
Opposed? Unanimous, passed unanimously. Thank you.
In the event there are no other appeals from property owners from any cities, it is recommended that all of the 2024 assessments in the cities except for Mr. Norman's property be approved as returned by the city boards of equalization.
So everything except for Mr. Norton, he'll have his chance.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, I'll move approval.
Second by, motion by Commissioner Ross, second by Mr. Ross. Ross's motion, all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
The second order of business is the equalization of assessments and townships. Did you have anything?
Well, it's a question about it, will we have just one topic next week or next meeting?
Yep.
All right.
If you're okay, we'll pick a date here when we finish up. That's okay.
All right.
Okay, the second order of business is the assessment of townships. Are there any individuals in a township in the county of Grand Forks that wishes to appeal their 2024 values? Township. Appealers, 2024 values. Okay, Washington Township was not able to hold their equalization meeting as they did not have a quorum. Therefore, the County Board of Equalization needs to approve their 2024 assessment.
Any questions?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other follow-up questions? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
And then it is also recommended that the 2024 assessments of all townships and classes of property be approved as returned by the Township Board of Equalization.
Correct. That's all motion.
When there's nobody here or on Zoom, but.
Right.
So moved. Second.
Second, Commissioner Ross. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Yeah. All right,
When are you able to meet to address Mr. Norman's? Can we do that now? Can we meet next Tuesday? Next Tuesday, and
Mr. Chairman, Ms. G'day.
oh, that's the election.
And it'd be the 18th of June, that's the.
Election.
I was maybe going to be out of town, but I could try to be in.
Is there anything wrong with doing it right now?
well,
He's here.
No, I don't think they're ready to act on it.
Oh,
They just
yeah.
received it.
Yeah.
oh, so then, you know,
Amber, if I can get some information from my staff via phone, I can try. But I have to do my best to get that, so if, I don't know how long you guys want to. Continue on with your meeting or put it,
well, would that make sense to just be at the next commission meeting?
That's usually how it's done, but usually the tax director is available.
But you're not maybe, but is there someone we can substitute for you?
I could zoom in.
Ah,
That would be
would
good.
you be able to do that?
Okay,
That would make sense, I give everybody time.
Does that work for Mr. Norman? 18?
Can you attend the next meeting? 2
The
weeks?
18th.
The next meeting?
Yeah,
Oh, that's fine.
okay,
I'm
sorry,
just kind of here to formally put it on record that I am concerned about the value, increase of the value of my property.
that's good, that you show up, but
So,
half of it's showing up, isn't it?
well, I've learned that. So am I finished in with my, okay, so,
You're in.
and I want to thank the commission for doing this. So then you'll contact me on the next meeting and all that. All right, well, thank you so much.
Same time, same place, 2 weeks from now.
2 weeks?
Yeah.
Okay, same day,
Yeah.
same time.
18th of June.
Anytime,
Thank you.
I'm good, thank you.
all right, give you a motion to.
To recess the county board of equalization and reconvene the county commission.
So moved. Second, whatever she said.
Seconded, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Yeah. Okay. Now we're back at the. We don't need to convene, we just
We just did.
left out. All right, now we're at Red River Community. Healthy Development Organization and. Support.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. Very quickly, I asked, Scott Mack, the director of the Red River Regional Council, and Lisa Rockwold, director of the Red River Community Housing Development Organization, and Keith Lund, president of the Grand Forks Region EDC, to be here today. To provide an update on the Region 4 rural housing study that's underway. And also the Preservation and Reinvestment Initiative for Community Enhancement, also known as PRICE. Project coordinator Leon and I have had a couple of really interesting and good meetings with Don and Lisa regarding rural housing and some concerns I think we're all aware of. And so they're gonna provide that update, and there's gonna be a partnership request. But essentially, what we're finding is lack of affordable rural housing. It's a real concern. It's an impediment to economic development and job growth. We've heard these similar concerns from Grand Forks Air Force Base. We've heard these concerns from the employers out at Grand Sky. Hence the reason the county's been talking about the Sun Lake property, so it's very good timing. So what, I've also updated Grand Forks Air Force Base on some of this information and they're supportive as well. So I think what I'd like to do is first ask, Don and Keith to come up and briefly give you a kind of an update on where that housing study is and where it's at, and then give it over to Lisa to talk to you about the price program, as well.
All right.
Good afternoon, Chairman Naaman. Thank you, Tom. I'm Dawn Mount. I'm the Executive Director of the Red River Regional Council. Our organization, for those that may not know, we are a four-county district tasked by state statute to provide planning and cohesive development for issues that and opportunities that transcend individual governmental borders. We've been doing this type of work since the 1970s, and our region is Region 4, the four counties in the northeast corner. We're very grateful for Kimberly Hagan representing Grand Forks County on our board, and before her was also. I'm just going to give a brief timeline if I may. There's some sequential logic to what we're proposing. One of our tasks that we're asked by our federal partner, the Economic Development Administration, is to develop a 5-year economic development strategy for Region 4. Our most recent strategy was completed at the end of 2023. Within this, and building upon our economic resiliency work during COVID, we have identified many opportunities for growth, exciting and unprecedented growth in Region 4 in the entire region. We really commend the county's investment in building the UAS industry and Grand Sky. We are eager to assist small towns in planning and supporting capitalizing on this development opportunity. Our studies and conversations reveal throughout the entire 4 counties, there's extraordinary need for housing, childcare, workforce placemaking, and rural entrepreneurship development. When listening to the needs of Grand Sky in particular, we see many opportunities for small towns in Grand Forks County and beyond to become more engaged and grow. In late 2022, we brought on Lisa Rodbold to our team with her vast experience and expertise in housing development across the state of North Dakota. Having led and participated in the development of more than 1,000 housing units statewide. Lisa is the director of the Community Housing Development Organization, which we founded in 1996 and has been idle for the last 10 to 15 years. Lisa also served on the Rural Housing Development Task Force, which I launched with 3 state agencies and 2 nonprofit developers in early 2020 to study the impediments and propose solutions regarding rural housing, which has been stagnant across the state for decades. The work of this task force informed and created awareness around how policies were limiting investment in small projects in small towns, with only 6% of more than $100 million in the past decade being invested in small towns in North Dakota outside the oil patch. The governor has also convened a statewide advisory group that's leading its first meeting tomorrow in Bismarck to discuss many of the same issues and prepare for the 25th session. In mid-2023, we began planning a Region 4 housing study targeted at the small towns in the region. The study has been supported by 7 organizations, including the Minnesota Housing Partnership, North Dakota Housing Finance Agency, the Grand Forks Region EDC, the City of Grand Forks Housing Authority, the Red River Choteau, and the Regional Council. We hired Fourth Economy as a national consultant for this project. This study has had extensive public outreach. We have had 17 focus groups and 3 public built sessions. Tomorrow at 1:30, we will review the draft strategies with the steering committee and all those that have participated in the process. And this study will inform our work as it relates to housing for the coming months and years. Today, the Choteau has 4 single-family houses under development to be built and are being built in 2024. 2 in Larimore and 2 in Lakota. This also has assisted with the development of an 8-plex in Cavalier, which is currently raising the needed equity. We have several projects in the hopper, so we're really focused on having action and moving beyond the recommendations into action. These projects have been enabled by the policy shifts recommended by the Rural Housing Task Force. Today, Lisa will describe an opportunity we have before us in supporting the revitalization of manufactured housing communities in Region 4. Manufactured housing is home to approximately 15% of the population in rural areas across the country, and is a strong part of the affordable housing mix, as its pricing is often half of the on-site stick-built housing. Before Lisa comes, I would first ask for Keith to share some comments regarding the housing study which he has been a participant in.
Good evening or afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, Keith Von Grant for Cruise and Economic Development Corporation. I'll be brief. Before I start, I just want to say thank you for your support and partnership. Grand Forks Economic Development Corporation to grow and diversify our regional economy. As you know, our primary mission is to support primary sector development in our region, which are businesses who add value to a product or service there and sell it outside the region, so bringing new resources to our community. But 1B really is workforce and retention and attraction. Things like intern Grand Forks program, Northern Valley Core Expo, cooler than you think, and really the big project that we worked on a few years ago was Career Impact Academy, which is taking shape if you drive by. We don't typically lead on housing related issues, but we recognize the importance, and Commissioner Inger Chering, and as a EDC board member, recognizes that we sort of lend our voice to issues of importance when it comes to workforce, and housing and childcare and other issues are extremely important when it comes to that. I've been in a few conversations regarding, well, I'm on the steering committee for the housing study that Don recently referenced, but I've been a few conversations related to the price program as well. And Mr. Ford asked that I say a few comments, and Mr. Ford asked to do. So I'm here this evening. So thank you for the opportunity. I'm going to go back really quickly to 2005 when we all received the terrible news that we were going to be losing, the tanker mission. We're going to get some UAS mission. Nobody knew what that was. I'm not even sure we had heard the term Global Hawk before. That BRIC was actually formed at that time, and they did a number of things. So one of the first things they did was economic impact analysis on what that really means to the region. And the impact wasn't so significant. It was under 4%, 3 point something. I don't remember the specific number. And I'm not sure if it was in the actual report, or just was intuitive, but within the city, the impacts were minimal. But the communities that were going to bear the brunt of that were going to be the Amarettos, the Marimores, and the Northwoods of the world, because that had been actually, and that was coming from a point of sort of contraction, because the base had been over 10,000 folks at some time, and that had sort of decreased over the years, and then we're going to have this other hit. So, and I think we've seen those impacts over the years in terms of population and business opportunity that was there at one time and is no longer there. So that's just sort of a baseline for, why we were excited to get involved in the housing study that was just referenced earlier. So, one of the things that we were interested about this particular study was a rural housing study. So it was for the 4 counties that Don talked about. But in terms of Grand Forks County, it was every community except the city of Grand Forks. And we really took, at least from my standpoint, and I think, Chair Engen can talk about his perspective, but I think the board really took a look at, here's a real opportunity to try to understand the needs, to understand sort of, the rental housing stock, or occupied housing stock, the activity that has occurred to date, and try to talk about policies and a way to get the communities excited to participate in the growth that is coming, and that we've already learned about with announcements at Transky and Grand Forks Surface Space. So that was the exciting component of that. Some of the things that they're going to be doing through that, Don didn't run through this, but a regional input gathering. So they had a number of input sessions that she did talk about. Demographic and economic analysis, existing housing stock, taking a look at for sale and rental market and senior housing markets, and then sort of aligning that with wages in the community to understand if there's alignment or a misalignment in those particular areas. So the way I look at it is to give the communities information that they could choose to act upon should they want, if they did not deal with other things that are there. It's just really creating a playbook that communities could choose to embrace. With respect to the price program, this is focused on gonna hear about that, but it's focused on manufactured housing communities. But I think there's a real opportunity there, and in many cases that is affordable housing, and sometimes your first opportunity. The city and EDC and the Housing Authority all participated and financially supported the rural housing study that I talked about earlier. So I really think there's an opportunity when you think about Grand Forks County in particular, and when you take a look at manufactured housing communities, I think there's opportunities for improvement in some areas and even transitioning to rental to home ownership opportunities. So a little bit just pointed at the end of my presentation, but I just wanted really wanted to emphasize that from the Economic Development Corporation, we understand the importance of housing, understand the importance of workforce housing. It's tough to talk about affordable housing because everybody's definition is different, but from my standpoint, housing at various price points, because we need all of that from an availability standpoint, if we're going to continue to grow as a community, as a region, as a state. So be happy to answer any questions when the presentation is done. I just wanted to sort of lend my voice to the conversation. Be happy to answer any questions now if we had it.
Questions from the board?
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Lisa Ratbold and I'm the executive director of the Red River Community Housing Development Organization. We operate under the umbrella of the Red River Regional Council for 501c3. And we are focused on housing and community development, serving low-income households and underserved communities. What we are finding is that a whole lot of rural communities are underserved. The resources aren't there, the capacity isn't there as far as staff, and so they, they struggled. So that was kind of the impetus of the housing study. Through that process, we talked to people from all over the region. Manufactured housing came up numerous times as a quality issue, an affordability issue, and an opportunity. And so when I saw this new program open up, it is a HUD program, focused on preservation and reinvestment in community enhancement, and read through it. It seemed like a really great opportunity to bring some dollars into this region that would be focused on improving quality and improving opportunity with regard to manufactured housing. Some of the basic information I think was provided in your packets. I'm going to take this opportunity to kind of walk through some of the strategies that we've identified in the approach that we are proposing to outline in our request for funding from the PRICE program. And then we can talk about that a little bit. So the approach that we're proposing is 4 parts. It includes inventory and planning. So reaching out to the entire region, kind of taking stock of what's out there, what's the condition of it, do some environmental evaluation. Do we have manufactured housing communities that are in floodplains? Do we have manufactured housing communities that are, in line of any other environmental hazard? Are there things that we can do to improve that living situation for folks? And then taking a look at infrastructure needs. Some of the manufactured housing communities don't have paved streets, have quite old infrastructure. And this is a program that would allow us to make some investments and improvements in some of those kinds of things. So inventory and planning is the first part. The second part is outreach and education. As a part of this, what we're proposing is a pretty robust opportunity to get public input, get input from folks who live in manufactured housing, communities that are home to some of these manufactured housing communities. And when I say manufactured housing community,
you can also read that as mobile home park. And so. We are proposing that we would have an advisory board, that would include, residents of manufactured housing. We would offer leadership training, home buyer education. We are looking at, hiring a multilingual outreach coordinator. That would be focused on interacting and helping, improve things for folks who are living in manufactured housing throughout the region. And then also, a component that would, do some public awareness on what quality, manufactured housing looks like and how it can be integrated into a community as a viable option for affordable housing. An interesting statistic that, I recently learned from the National Association of Home Builders is that 50% of Americans and also 50% of North Dakotans, I double checked, can't afford a $250,000 home. And we can't build $250,000 homes. So we have half the population who really are being squeezed out of home ownership opportunity just because of the economics that we currently are experiencing in new construction. So, do we sit back and, you know, too bad for those folks, or do we look for viable alternatives that can provide some of those opportunities and start to address the really significant shortage of affordable housing throughout the region that's starting to really hold back some economic development work. So that's the outreach and education portion. The next focus area is, and I think I have it on your flyer as local control. And I'm gonna add shared equity housing to that. So the idea of potentially helping communities convert manufactured housing communities that are maybe owned by an absentee owner, be acquired by perhaps a land trust or a nonprofit or a co-op that's local, that would empower local decision-making and accountability for folks who are living in those communities, and really promoting that as a best practice. We also are looking at promoting accessible, accountable, responsive ownership of those mobile home parks, of those manufactured housing communities, and also building awareness about tenant protections in lease terms, that, you know, when folks have their home and they're leasing a spot, make them aware of some of the tenant protections that are starting to become best practice. Fannie Mae's published a set of guidelines, Freddie Mac's published a set of guidelines, HUD has a whole book on it. And so those are the conversations that need to start happening to help improve quality and accountability. And then the fourth area really is making some focused investments. We're proposing that we would create a loan program that could provide low interest loans, potentially soft second mortgages that could help with affordability, kind of ride on the property until it's sold, and then perhaps get repaid out of sales proceeds sometime down the road, and also grants to help make improvements to manufactured housing neighborhoods and repair units that have health and safety standard problems, improve energy efficiency, improve resiliency to extreme weather conditions, and also improve accessibility for people with disabilities. Any unit that was built prior to 1976, we can help replace that unit. and get something new and energy efficient and, you know, kind of set that on a good path moving forward. There are a lot of people living in, housing that's really in poor condition out there. And so we could help those folks, get into a much better housing situation. These funds could be used, for infrastructure, could be used for paving, they could be used for, improving, or water sewer, streetlights for safety, storm shelters, playgrounds, that kind of thing, so then those neighborhoods aren't necessarily, you know, an eyesore or, don't feel very desirable. You know, we can make some investments into those places so that they are a good option for, folks to call home. And then the final piece is, increasing home ownership opportunities. And so, what we have learned from the SEDS and from the housing study and multiple studies and conversations, we just don't have enough units of housing. There's lots of reasons for that. You know, some of it is economic development. There's a whole trend of employers bringing in visa workers. That's using housing. It's making it harder for, you know, people who want to, you know, make some of our small towns their permanent home to be able to secure housing. There's a lot of interesting dynamics kind of happening under the radar, and we just need more housing units. And while we are very proud to be able to be building 4 houses this summer to sell in Lakota and Larimore, we don't have the resources to get to the volume that really would make an impact and really could help, you know, some of the businesses that are planning this growth and expansion. And so this could be a tool that we could use to help folks become homeowners, you know, purchase brand new, highly energy efficient units, place them on permanent foundations and become homeowners. Help them with financing and homebuyer education, all those kinds of things. So those are some of the things that we think we could do if we could get some of this prize money. And our approach is region-wide. I guess my perspective is we can do more together than we can separately. Most of the communities in Region 4 are too small to go after money like this. It just wouldn't be an option. And so if we work together and all 4 counties jump into it, we can have enough need to put in a strong application and bring some of those resources to the region that, you know, have kind of been flying past us and going other places in the country. This one seems like a perfect fit for this area and could really make some significant improvements to the housing quality for a lot of folks. Mayor Jake Lanes from Amaretto also joined us today. I don't know if you have any thoughts you want to share, but I just wanted to point out your presence.
I can add a couple things. Thank you, commissioners. My name is Jake Lanes. I'm the mayor of Amaretto. I was elected mayor just here a couple of years ago, but I've been in Amaretto for a little over a decade now. I started my law enforcement career out in Amaretto through the sheriff's office. Over the last, like I said, a little over a decade, tried to do a lot of different things out there to improve that town. Bottom line is when people hear the name of our city, there's a tone behind it when they repeat it. And it's a negative tone. People talk about our town, they drive by and they say, oh, that's the town that has the Dairy Queen and the trailer park. And that's not Emerald. There's a lot more to Emerald than mobile home parks. We actually have 3 mobile home parks in our city that operate as 2. 2 of those parks, as I said, operate as 1. And just some interesting numbers for you, there are 121 total mobile homes in that park specifically. And there's only 50% occupancy right now. And of those 121, almost 30% of those are not sufficient for even anybody to enter, let alone live in that property. So the city's taken some efforts to try and abate some of those properties, but it is a very slow process. You know, there's different things that we have to go through, like you guys did tonight with public hearings and different things like that. So it's a slow process, and we have received a lot of negative pushback from the property owners, obviously. During my time as the mayor out there, I've met with a lot of different residents who live in the mobile home parks and are basically begging the city for help, asking us to try and step in and do a little bit more. And as all of you know, there are some roadblocks that are associated with that as well. Certain things that we can, certain things that we can't do. So I guess the most important thing that I'm here to talk about is just to lend my support to this initiative. As a mayor of a city that has seen exactly what these folks are trying to remedy, I can't say anything negative. It's something that I fully support, and I hope that can be brought to our region. And maybe a little bit of this on the selfish side, hopefully it would be able to help out my residents in my city as well. So again, bottom line is I fully support this project, and I hope it moves forward. Thank you for listening.
Mr. Chair, on this discussion, I thought that the conversation was very timely as we talked with the base and affordable housing at Grand Sky. As Commissioner Egan knows, is the Grand Sky and Brick portfolio out of the 4 quality of life issues that impact strategic basing BRAC decisions, housing is one of them. And so if the commission was inclined to financially support, the county does receive revenue from Grand Sky, albeit it's not a lot. The county receives $12,000 a year, 2 payments for administration of the joint use runway agreement. And then the commission does receive about $8,400 a year in participation rent. So suggestion would be, and I always defer to Ms. Nelson with finances, but you could use that. My understanding is that Grand Sky revenue goes into the general fund. But I think it would be an appropriate use of that revenue, means this could, if successful, could have a positive impact on the base and the Grand Sky growth, and then just the rural communities.
I think we've probably all got some questions, either Don or Louis, you want to come up?
No, we can look.
First one, Commissioner, want to start off with questions?
So what happens to the $20,000 if the grant isn't accepted?
Yeah, then it doesn't come to us. It'd be completely contingent upon the success of the grant.
Have you arrived at that figure?
So the program doesn't require match. However, in the scoring of the applications, we can get some points if we have some match. And so this ask is gonna be very large. We're looking at probably a $30 million proposal that would fund 6 years worth of activity focused on manufactured housing. Because we have 4 counties, we thought, hey, let's talk to each of the counties and see if we can get each of them to contribute something. So that we can get the points in the application, completely contingent upon our success. The 20,000, I guess we visited with Tom and Gracie, and that was a number that seemed doable.
That's the same figure you'll be requesting for the other counties that are partners.
yeah, probably.
I have a couple of questions. First of all, is the entire goal home ownership rather than building apartment buildings or other rentals?
It will definitely have a big focus on home ownership.
Because there are some people, even at the lower level of home ownership, they'd rather live in a place that they could afford than a
Right.
decent place to rent.
Right.
So is
I
that,
think that there's gonna be some flexibility, especially if we can get into a shared equity model. With a land trust or a co-op, where we could try and make improvements and or replace, dilapidated units. And continue to have them serve as rentals. Perhaps owned by the land trust or the co-op or, whatever the structure ends up being. And continue to allow people to be renters if that is their preference. With dramatically improved housing quality.
and when you're talking about manufactured homes. Mr. Mayor, we've all seen the trailer court that you're talking about, and at one time years ago. I was one of the city attorneys from Rado, and we couldn't do anything about it then either. It was really a difficult problem. But are you envisioning the mobile, 12-foot wide, 14-foot wide mobile homes or double mobile homes put on foundations? What's the goal to make them look like decent housing for a long time?
Yeah, our preference would be to get them on permanent foundations and, put double wide style homes on them. I can't say we would rule out a single wide. There is trying to remember what the company calls it. There's a line of manufactured homes that are built to zero energy ready standards. They're highly energy efficient. We would advocate for any replacement units to at least be of that quality. There may be still a role for the smaller single wide units. For folks who want to own their own mobile home and continue to rent a pad in a park. Presumably they would be hopefully renting it from a more locally controlled owner.
How will you, how are you going to select the communities that are going to benefit from this? Because you've also got a lot of other small towns, not just Livermore and Rado. We've got Burley and we got all these other towns a little farther away from the base.
Yeah,
And how that decision gonna be made, and how much of the $30 million do you think you really optimistically or realistically are gonna be able to get?
that is a question I don't think we have an answer to.
I expect a real answer, but
But as
is there
far
a good shot at this, do you think?
I think we have a really good argument to make just because we have a really dramatic story to tell in this region. I think that adding photos to our application is gonna be priceless. As far as how do we decide which communities get touched? I expect there will be a portion of money that is set aside for manufactured housing upgrades, and those are likely to be focused on communities where we think there can be an ownership transition, as opposed to where we don't think that that's a viable option. So that's gonna help narrow it down. There will also be a component of this program that will be focused on individual home buyers. And those home buyers, could be from anywhere. I think asking each county to contribute and provide some matching funds. There could be a minimal, each county is gonna have at least, X amount invested in their county, is a fair way to approach that. And I think it's gonna depend entirely on what comes to our region in the way of funding for this.
Commissioner Hagan, you have any questions on Zoom?
No, my question was just answered with how we would go about picking the communities and who would get the dollars, but thank you.
Any other, Mr. Ross, Mr. Russell, anything else? Okay, thank you very much. Oh,
Sorry, sir. I think I can answer Commissioner Russ's question too. When we met with John and Lisa, that was just a number I threw out to start at, because that's approximately what the Grant Sky revenue comes in at. Knowing that it would be the prerogative of the board to go with that, or a lesser amount, or no amount.
well, it's clearly the Grand Sky is an impetus for lots of people coming in and new jobs and high paying jobs and all of that, so. I kind of agree that that makes a lot of sense to invest in something like this. Anything else? Motions?
It's just specifically, if I may, Mr.
Sure.
Chairman, specifically, we did provide a template for a letter of support. Today, we also took another look at the eligible applicants, and we think it may be prudent for us to have an MOU between the counties and the regional councils. Our read of it, to be safe, would require that. And then lastly, the financial contributions, so 3 actual requests before you.
All right, well. Did you have a format for the memorandum of understanding? Or
Yeah.
you guys working on that?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I have it. I just have to have the Madam State's attorney take a look at it. And assuming she's okay with it, can bring it back for your first signature. All right.
And the MOU is non-binding, it's basically an intention. We've set out the scope of work that Lisa outlined during her comments. And that's about it. So it's pretty simple and straightforward, so I don't anticipate there being any issues.
Okay, what are the wishes of the commission? Folks,
What land trust are you looking to possibly go with?
Yeah, I've spoken to Emily Contreras at the Grand Forks Community Water Trust.
She's, I can't vote on this. I do have to reviews on this.
oh,
I'm on that board.
She has not made any commitment but she's aware and there's potential that we could use them or we could set up another land trust. But yeah, she has provided us some technical assistance.
Commissioner Hagan or Commissioner Ross, do I have a motion?
I make the motion
To do what?
for the approval of the MOU. And the expenditure of what, $20,000 to go toward the grant application.
And there's also a
A
letter.
letter of support.
And a letter of support.
Is there a second?
A second.
Mr. Hagan, all right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for the presentation.
Take care.
Mr. Magnuson, planning and zoning.
Chair, members of the commission, I have one item for you today. It's in regard of our building inspections. For the past 13 years, the county has been utilizing in-depth inspections to issue our building permits and do our building inspections. Due to staffing issues and unforeseen circumstances, they have ceased their operations. They have provided me with contact information from a similar firm, Mapleton, which I am in the process of getting a bid from. In the meantime, I'd like to discuss our future options with the planning commission and come back with a recommendation in 2 weeks to this board, so we know how to move forward. But at this time, I would like to ask the commission for a motion to temporarily suspend the enforcement of state building code until the time that a suitable replacement can be found. In the meantime, I can issue building permits and enforce setback and floodplain regulations. But this would just basically prevent, building projects from being held up in the next 2 weeks or so. Or longer, depending on what we decide.
Someone wants to start a project in the meantime, though, are there gonna be some that slip in without adequate inspection?
Well, yeah, we wouldn't be enforcing state building code. I've done some research and. The only county I found that enforces the building code is Williams County, and that's due to a lot of their oil projects. None of the surrounding counties, even Cass County doesn't enforce building code. That's pretty.
Out in the county, you mean?
Right, out in the county, I'm not talking about city limits, that's a little different deal. So we're not putting ourselves up to any legal liability per se, but we're just kind of buying our time and putting people on notice this, hey, if you want to move forward, this is how we have to do it at this time.
Trustee.
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
Second.
All right, we have a motion in a second, and doesn't look like there's any other discussion. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
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 I just, Mr. Hagan, fill in. That's unanimous.
All right, I'll be back in 2 weeks, hopefully we got some options. for you.
Thank you. Mr. West, we've been waiting patiently for another shot at contract.
Well, two items for consideration for the board today. They both deal with that Flex Fund grant on Eagle Avenue, County Road 25. We opened bids on Friday morning. And everything went swimmingly. All the bonds were in place, which was nice. Everything went well. We had 3 bids. RJ Zavarol was the low bid, 5.3 million. That is within budget. It's well within budget. Our Flex Fund grant was 5.58 million. And so everything looks good. They're a good contractor, and I would ask for approval of the bid and award the project. And my second requested motion would be for signatures chair on the contract, contingent on DOT approval and receipt of contractor's performance and payment bond. Yesterday afternoon, I got concurrence from the DOT that they were good with what was bid and the contract and such. So if it's okay with the board, I would make a suggestion, we could sign the contract, a hard copy today. And then as soon as we get the bond, performance and payment bond from the contractor, then we can give them their contract, they could sign it, be executed and go, would be our recommendation.
Okay, so you're asking for the motion on the first part of it. First. All questions, comments?
I'll move to proceed with this recommendation.
Second by Commissioner Rustic, second by Commissioner Ross. On the several bid. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Passed unanimously. Okay.
I should add a little tidbit, technically the Trail County Commission didn't have to approve it, but they did this part.
Okay.
Because the contract's with Grand Forks County, but they were paying half, so we thought approving that they really would accept the contract as
It's
well.
nice that they meet in the morning and the same day we meet. That clarifies things sometimes. It's good.
It does, yes, you know.
So the second part,
The second part, I would,
that day,
I would ask for a chair's signature, that if that was included in that or not.
I'll just make a motion to allow the chair to sign. The second contract.
let's second that. He's got a question about finishing the first one. The motion, I think, included chair signature.
Yes,
That's accurate?
yes,
Yeah, I thought so.
okay, and I'm good with
Let's
it.
move on to the second.
The second would be for the same project. However, it'd be for KLJ's contract to perform construction engineering services, surveying, material testing, observation, et cetera. And this is also within budget or approved by the DOT and 80% covered by the grant as well too. That was part of our application.
So again, they're both 80, 10 and 10, 80% grant, 10% Grand Forks County, 10% trail.
Correct.
So move. Second.
Mr. Ross, second by Mr. Rusted. All in favor of this motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I,
Passed unanimously.
That's all I have.
That's
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Simon.
Wonderful. Great. And they can start right away.
Yeah, that's good.
End of June.
County Administrator, board.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Leon is actually gonna brief the board on the GSIP proposal and project.
Sharing good members of the commission. As you, we've talked about this a few times before, I believe, USIP stands for Defense Community Infrastructure Program. And it is a federal program that gives dollars to communities that have military installations to perform projects that would benefit both the military installation and the community. And so since about 2016, the county has been aware that the current fire response structure with grants for Grand Sky is temporary and inadequate for the growth that Grand Sky has been seeing and will continue to see. Right now, it is an agreement with the city of Grand Forks and their fire team, and response will come from the far northern side of the base and from the city of Grand Forks. And while the city has been great to work with on this, Chief Lorenz has made it clear that this is not a long-term solution. And so between the Grand Sky and Grand Forks Air Force Base having inadequate fire responses, we have been discussing applying for this grant program to ask for a fire station, dollars for a fire station from the federal government to meet response times on the far southern portion of Grand Forks Air Force Base, and then throughout all of Grand Sky. It is something that tenants have expressed a need for. It is something that Grand Sky itself sees as important to continue bringing in new tenants. And it is something that could even impact operations in the long run on the base and what is allowed to come into Grand Forks Air Force Base and what is not. And so we've been working on this proposal and project application since about last year. We hoped to apply last year and things didn't work out. But now we are in the final stages of putting together this proposal, and it will be endorsed by Colonel Monroe on base, which is a key part of the project and it's a key part of the application. And since Grand Forks qualifies as rural, we will be asking for, if the commission approves us asking for it, it will be a $10 to $11 million grant, but since we are rural, that means we do not have to provide a match for this program, which is great for us. And we would have to pay for soft costs because it is only for construction costs. But as it is a priority of Grand Sky, they have indicated that they plan to use their enhanced, or the county's enhanced use lease grants from the state of North Dakota. They were awarded $10 million for the 2023-2025 biennium. And they still have about $1 million of those dollars left, and those will be prioritized towards the fire station. Are there any questions on?
So, Mr. Chair, so this station will be located on Grand Sky or on the south end of Grand Forks Air Force Base?
Very good, and Commissioner Ross, good question. It would be located on Grand Sky. Actually, this is only the second year that projects have been able to be proposed that would be located on an enhanced use lease, because currently projects cannot be located on an installation, and that used to extend to all installation property. But now if it is land that is under the jurisdiction of a different entity like the county, we can apply. So it's on Grand Sky.
So then the fire trucks and personnel for that fire station would come under what?
So the fire trucks currently and the equipment, we do have equipment already that is actually being located on the fire station on the Air Force Base right now. As far as personnel, those are ongoing discussions, but I know Colonel Monroe has submitted to the Air Force a request that he be given orders that Grand Forks Air Force Base must provide emergency services and response adequate for tenants of Grand Forks Air Force Base to create a permission structure to ask for currently allocated but unfunded positions. So right now,
breaking that down a little, Grand Forks Air Force Base has 51 staffed, fire positions, but they are actually, due to federal requirements to be fully meeting standards are supposed to have, it's over 60. And so those are just unfunded positions at this point in time. In addition to that, and there are no promises being made, but there have been conversations with Grand Sky and other Grand Sky tenants who do need a fire station there, and potentials for them to cost share the personnel and salary dollars. At this point, we are in conversations, but there aren't any concerns that we won't be able to find the staff.
Okay, so. These firefighters. They would be stationed over at the Grand Forks Air Force Base,
They would be,
firefighters themselves, and they would respond to the fire station on Grand Sky.
no, they would be stationed at Grand Sky, but
Okay.
they would be part of the infrastructure and of the Grand Forks Air Force Base Fire Station.
Yeah, no, Ms. Leon is correct. So Commissioner Ross, the eventual goal is a public-private partnership with the base, much like we have with Grand Sky and other DoD relationships. So the county will, if successful and is invited to apply, I think we make a pretty good case. If successful, we would procure hard construction cost to build it. It'd be on the northeast corner of Grand Sky, if I'm correct. We already own 2 fire trucks purchased through EUL development grant dollars. Equipment, the base has made the case, and that case has been validated by ACC that they're short billets, firefighter billets. So that request has been put in. And so essentially the county would own the fire station, the equipment, the firefighters would be DoD personnel. The P4 would allow base to use our station, our equipment, and respond to both sides of the fence.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Doesn't seem like we've got much risk on this at all.
No, it's just so necessary, and you talk about the tenants wanting this, they've got some expensive airplanes out there.
Yeah.
So they really want it to work, and I think these two have been working with people a lot. They're the friendly discussion, I think, with most of them.
Approval on Ms. Leon's recommendation.
Oh, I haven't, sorry, excuse me.
She hasn't done yet. But that's not contract requested.
There's particular wording, if that is all right. We would ask that you approve, County Administrator Tom Ford to submit a DSIP proposal on behalf of the county to OLDCC, which is the Office of Local Defense Community Cooperation. They're the ones awarding the dollars. For a non-match grant ranging from $10 million to $11 million. The only reason we have that range is because we have 2 different cost estimates right now, which are very similar, but we just don't want to, during this meeting, put a number on it. And then designate the county administrator as the submitting official, and the county's authorized to represent
Yeah, that's my motion.
it.
And I second that.
Second by Commissioner Roth.
Thank you.
All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Aye. Pass.
Thank you. Apologies for.
Oh, that's all.
All right, I guess the floor, next.
Yes, sir.
Next issue.
The next issues are pretty quick. As you saw from the memo, some portion of fairground fencing on the county fairgrounds was damaged last December. Fair Board actually submitted the claim for repairs on their policy. We found out that they're actually under our policy on our property schedule. Mr. Agel, the Fair Board Fairgrounds, facilities manager, received an estimate of $11,900 with KP Construction. However, talking with Ms. Nelson and then Bell Insurance, our broker, we have a $5,000 deductible, and the fence is not insured for replacement, it's at depreciation. So essentially, if we filed a claim, we'd be ahead $800 and our rates would go up. Talking with Mr. Agel, my recommendation to the commission is we just pay it capital improvements, but the Fair Board is willing to split the cost 50-50.
Oh.
So basically, we'd be looking at $6,000 from capital improvements. If Ms. Nelson agrees.
So moved.
Ross. Second, Mr. Rustin? Yeah. All right.
Okay,
No other questions, is there no hearing on? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
I,
Opposed? Yeah.
very good, thank you.
Third item.
Lastly, I have is parking ramp fees, so if you've been in the parking ramp, portions of it have been blocked off, they're beginning. Repairs. That said, the commission has been discussing for a while revisiting and adjusting parking ramp fees, reserved spaces. In the memo, I list out proposed fees. I've had some internal discussions with some department heads, if they seem reasonable. It got the consensus. I shared these fees with department heads. Hopeful that they pushed them on down to their staff. It seems to be consensus again. So currently on the first and second floor of the ramp, if you want to reserve space, it's $35 a month. Staff would be suggesting those increase to $50 a month on first and second. For reserve, and then the top deck has been zero. It's agreed upon by staff that that should go to $25 a month if you'd like to have a spot up there. And then the courthouse lot has been at 15 a month. Staff believe that should be revisited and suggesting $25 a month as well. So you see estimating numbers, what the income could be at $113,700. If the commission adopted this, the staff recommendation would be to implement the new fees once parking fees are reestablished upon completion of the renovation of the parking ramp. Happy to answer any questions.
I'll make that motion. I'll second it.
I have just one question. Are you getting? These are pretty low rates, actually, even if with the new rate, but are you getting a lot of pushback from the individuals who parked there?
I have not, like I said, I shared it with a smaller group first when I was thinking this through, just to make sanity check. Didn't see any negative feedback, pushed it to the department head level a while ago, and we've discussed it at department head meetings. I have not personally received any pushback. So my answer is no. The top level in talking with court administration, obviously, if jurors are gonna park up there like they usually do, we would not charge because we have to provide that parking. And so we can work out, from the court administrator's office, a pass or something, but.
Right.
Yeah, the fees, the 50, I compared to the city's parking ramps downtown. And then the 25, I compared to the university's, open service parking rates. If the commission's curious how it came up with it.
All right, any further questions? We have a motion and a second, all in favor of the rates to be put in place when the project is finished, signify by saying aye.
Hi.
Pass.
Mr. Chair, that's all I have, is Leon did the heavy lifting, so.
Ah,
Team effort.
he's younger than you.
Ms. Wamstead, District Attorney,
And nothing for the board.
committee reports, Commissioner Hagan,
I don't have anything to add today. Thank you.
right, Commissioner Roth.
Just our Tuesday meetings out at the jail and youth assessment center. Things seem to be going well. They're moving right along. We do have a special meeting tomorrow for the RFIs on the sheriff's office, so. Other than that, that's it.
Mr. Russett,
I got nothing right now.
and I have nothing to. So, Ms. Nelson, any unfinished or new business?
No, but I can tell you that the early voting precinct started today,
Oh, yes,
opened at 10 a.m. We had about 200 voters, about 4 o'clock. A little slow, but it's been raining today too.
all right. And you said, told me you had a training for,
I am training,
Coming up?
all day tomorrow and, Thursday.
how many precincts are we gonna be having at the primary?
So there are 20 precincts in Grand Forks County. There's 37 different ballot styles in those 20 precincts. So we'll have 4 voting centers in the city. Anybody from Grand Forks County can vote at any one of them. And then we'll have 6 outside the city polling sites, and you have to live there to vote there. Okay.
Thank you. And no correspondence in the packet today?
Nothing.
Commissioner Hagan's turn.
Is there a motion pending? Okay. Haven't heard it yet.
Oh, a motion to adjourn, please. Paying
Second.
attention, I promise.
Second is back.
I was patiently waiting, patiently
I
waiting.
know. I wanted you to have the opportunity.
Oh, you guys were ping pong today, man. I couldn't get a word in edgewise.